partner to work.
Do we need flat surface or?
Yes, two. There. Oops, so fun.
Yeah.
Okay, don't open your boxes.
Somebody's purse is here.
We're gonna do what they go.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I thought we were like chatting or something.
We're Legoing.
We're Legoing.
Oh, my sons are really good at this.
You are amazing at it.
Good at Lego so much.
We have the big.
Oh, it's nice and misty.
Oh, nice.
Hey, we're just stirring Lego, like, you know, the big.
Really?
Oh, yes.
It's hard not to put it together correctly.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. These are tiny.
Cheaters!
No cheating. Don't open your boxes yet. What we're going to do is we're going to have 3 rounds of this process, and then we're going to debrief after each round. And I'm going to give you some rules here in terms of what your roles are. So there's 2 roles within each team. There's the builder. The builder is responsible for assembling the product. And the facilitator. The facilitator is responsible for instructing the builder with directions. The facilitator cannot touch the materials. And the builder cannot talk. Is everyone clear on that? Okay.
Are the directions
So,
outside?
Are we timed?
you will be timed. We're going to run 3-minute runs. And then at the end of the 3 minutes, then you have to stop and no one can touch anything. And then we'll do a little bit of a debrief.
Wait, then he has a question.
Oh, no.
I mean, Coco has a question.
So,
this will
just
be
to
a
recap,
good-
when I say start, the builder will open the box and the facilitator will begin instructing the builder with directions.
And the directions are inside.
And the directions are not inside.
Ah,
Okay? So, are you guys ready?
What are directions?
What are we?
We decide in advance who's going to be the builder?
Yeah.
Who's going to be the builder and who's going to be the facilitator?
So what am I facilitating? What do I need to tell her like this?
Yes.
Oh, that
No,
piece.
I have to tell the box.
Wait, this truck?
Without directions.
You're building the front of the box.
You're building what's on the front of the box.
My
Okay?
2-year-old's supposed to be able to do it, so.
Ooh, it's going to be so fun. Let me get my timer ready.
You have to take tons of photos.
Should I need to take a picture? Like,
And the facilitator
You
can
can
touch
touch
the
the
box?
picture.
Okay, you can touch the picture. But you can't touch the
But you can't touch the materials. Whoever the facilitator is that's giving the directions cannot touch the materials.
Okay.
And
Just
the
the box.
builder cannot speak.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
So, ready?
Cheer up for her.
And go.
Alrighty, so you want to start?
Two minutes and 30 seconds left.
Oh my gosh.
There are a bunch of pieces in here that I'll be running 50.
Just getting it together.
What is this Lego? He's like an exterminator.
1 minute. 1 minute to complete construction of your product. 45 seconds.
So maybe like
30 seconds.
okay, this red.
15
Oh, you
seconds.
know what? What about you guys do this to boost it up?
No, I think that one.
And then the yellows one.
5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Time. Hands off.
Oh my
Hands
god.
off.
I do smell poop.
What? Smell poop?
I think you know how to do this.
Let's see, did you finish?
What?
Okay, so let's see
Oh
how far
my
did everybody get.
gosh.
We have a fire.
I've got the base.
Yours is pretty good. We got the what's the card?
Okay, builders, how did it feel to assemble the product relying solely on the facilitator? Feedback. What was it like?
Well, I didn't know what I was doing anyway, so
Okay.
it didn't
Did it help or hinder?
it didn't do help or hinder because help slightly, but I think we were both clueless about Lego.
Okay.
Well, I shouldn't. My boys have tons of Legos,
Yeah,
but putting it together is the, yeah. And we had no directions. We need the directions
I
step by
usually
step.
watch.
How, and for those who were building, how was the facilitator addressing you? Like, were you getting feedback? What was that like?
Oh, it's
Very
very feedback.
Okay.
Suggestions, like look for a piece that has this color.
Mhm. So without the directions, she was trying to give you some kind of guidance
Suggestions,
on
yes.
how to build a product, right? Okay.
And then when I put things together, I was like, oh, good job. That's great. On the other side, I knew how to do this. Don't tell that. I was kind of like, okay, Tara, let's start. So.
Yeah, but that's important, right? Having the encouragement, right? From
Right.
somebody
Then
who's
there's
helping
some
to guide
other-
you without directions, right? Giving that constant feedback about where you're going.
I like the encouragement part.
Yes.
Sure.
for
And
the
I actually
photos.
did not like, there were certain parts where it was really obvious, where it's like, we had agreement on the wheels are, you know, easy, the building the guy is easy, so let's do that. And it felt good to, even though I couldn't verbalize and say, I agree that let's knock out the easy part first, it felt good to have somebody say that, say what I was feeling, even though I couldn't.
The reinforcing.
Yeah, yeah,
But kind of like you're building that culture, if you will, of the team,
yeah,
right? Even though you couldn't really talk, but hearing that feedback.
yes.
How did it feel when you were hearing the countdown?
Stressful.
Oh.
Totally stressful.
I can't believe 3 minutes was that fast.
And for those who were facilitating, when you heard the countdown, were you providing any kind of encouragement then, or did that stress you out even more?
I was stressed for all the small little parts that we had to put together yet.
All the hard stuff was done.
Yeah.
Okay. And then in terms of facilitators, any feedback that you have on the process with the builder as you were instructing? What were you thinking? What was going through your mind?
I feel like it was hard to give instruction because I didn't feel like I had any more information than she did actually. Like I felt like it was blindly and shit.
It's interesting that she's.
You know what I mean? Like
Well,
neither one of I didn't know
Right.
more. She could just I was kind of just looking at the pieces too. So I don't know that I felt like I was that helpful.
So that's actually interesting that Deb says that, because I went into the mode where I just assumed that she had more information than I did. Because I'm just gonna follow instructions, that's my role, that's my job.
Yep.
Your role is to be the smart person and know that the red piece goes in the middle. So it's interesting that she actually said, oh, I don't feel like I had any more information than you, which now of course I realize that, but because I had just assumed that my role was going to be follow and your role is to be smart, that already sets up, kind of expectation. Yeah.
Hands off the material.
Yeah, I had a kind of a different take on it.
Yeah,
I'm not, I assumed I couldn't speak.
was gonna pick things up, and she was gonna give me additional feedback, you know, this one there, or something like this. And basically, I was shutting up so that I could get more input.
Yeah, but you weren't supposed to talk.
Well, I didn't. But to me, the whole point of not talking is to make her
Do the talk.
do the talking and be sure we actually had two brains working on this.
Ah.
Because if I'm talking, I'm not.
Right. You can then utilize that energy
To really focus on this and then rely on her to say, this one there, that one. This is a piece of the man.
So
But do we
efficiency.
have all the
Yeah.
pieces? Because I don't know if we have those curved pieces.
Sometimes we don't have all the
Like that go
And
around.
I
Cassandra.
saw
I'm sorry,
that.
Cassandra.
What?
Sometimes we don't have all the pieces.
Can I pause right here, because we just had a lot of rich conversation
Yeah.
right now, and we're all kind of just talking to each other. So I want to draw out a couple things. So what you were talking about, and you think about that in the context of why we're here this weekend, right? We're here to set the strategy for 2012, 2013. There's a bunch of people who are relying on us from an organizational perspective to actually know what we're doing, right? And if we don't have a clear idea of what that is, how are we going to instruct our committees and our chairs and the rest of the people? And how do we actually message that to the public? So our junior league friends, the organizations we interface with. So that's a lot of the importance of having some type of roadmap, if you will, and part of the work that we'll be doing this afternoon. And then the other piece that you talked about was listening, and that's one of the things that is really challenging when you're meeting a bunch of people. We'll watch a video in a second here after we finish this exercise that speaks to that a little bit. If you think about the dynamics of teams, right? Everyone's assigned to a new committee this year. You're working with new members you may not have experience with. And part of working together well as a high-functioning team is to have confidence in the people that are working with you, right? And being able to listen to them, especially when they're expressing discomfort or anxiety, right? Even if you do have a roadmap, just hearing that out and allowing people to express what they're expressing so that they can move forward and you can progress with what it is that you're calling for to do. Go ahead.
So what I noticed is TT was really figuring some things out, and my role, because of the name also facilitator, was to just fill in the gap, help her where I thought there were potential gaps or where I could just move that process on to the next step.
And so that's a great thing. I think understanding the roles and responsibilities, which you had brought up, you know, there was confusion, you didn't have the directions, and so, you know, your builder was saying, well, it didn't really help me to have somebody be the facilitator, because it's not that she's a bad person, but she wasn't adding value, right, to this process. I didn't build my product any quicker. And so that's another piece that is really important for the board to understand what's everyone's role and how do we build on the strengths and the differences of everyone on the team so as a cohesive group, right, we're moving forward. So that was another really key point that we talked about that you brought up. So we're actually going to do another run of this exercise now. So same thing. People will keep, yes, take it apart.
But do we have all the pieces?
Yes,
sure.
sure.
I love it though. But it'd be a different exercise if we didn't. Right?
So take your little product apart. You're going to keep the same roll.
Take it apart?
Take it apart entirely.
I think it's the same, but now that it's on there. It's just where they was it. Oh, so instead of him holding that, it's on the top.
We don't have very much to
Okay.
Oh, we're putting it all. Oh my gosh, I don't think it's that high.
Oh, you're putting it back in the box? Michelle, do we need to put it back in the box or just leave it?
Is everybody ready?
Wait, they have to put it back.
Is it possible to put it together in 2 minutes? If you know.
Okay, so this time we're actually going to give you the little book. And the facilitator can now touch the materials. So both people can touch the materials. And again, remember the goal is to assemble the product.
So can she actually build or just touch just by handing.
She can build whatever it is.
Both of us can do it. Work
Can we both
together.
talk?
Yes, you can both talk.
So everybody can do everything.
Everybody can do everything. Okay, so I'm gonna distribute these. There you go.
I'm gonna find you.
Yeah,
You start the wheel.
And then,
Okay, we're choosing the flowers, right? Can I open this?
All right, when I
Should be
say
mine.
go, I'll start the timer and then you can open your boxes and start. So,
you ladies can go through the book here.
Oh, okay.
Fired.
okay, ready?
The car is the hard.
Go.
Alright, so we just do the end, whip out the end, I'll bring it out.
Two minutes, 30 seconds. Two minutes. One thirty.
Fairings. Fairings for case one.
Oh.
Yes, they are.
One minute. Thirty seconds. Ten seconds. Time. Hands off. How did everybody do?
Yeah, better.
But not all the
Did anyone finish? No.
We had 1, 2,
How many pieces did you have left?
Lots.
plenty.
I didn't count.
You only had 7 pieces left? Let's see it.
Wow.
You guys are like expert Lego movers.
Okay, Sherry and Tara, talk about that. Why do you think you got to 7 pieces remaining?
Well, I think we went with strengths, the way that I do Legos, so I was like, okay, I'll do the car.
Somebody write that down.
I play Legos with the kids, so I was like, okay, I'll do the car, and we just picked the 2 separate.
Divide and conquer.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then when she finished her person, she just started adding. She looked at the picture and started getting some pieces.
Did you talk about it before you started?
No, I didn't.
You just automatically jumped into it.
Yeah.
So what was your role knowing that she did Legos? What was your
Well,
I started on the guy, and then once I got the guy done, I helped her out with the sheets. That was obviously
Okay. What about some of the other teams? What was your experience like? given that you could both talk and both touch the materials and you had direction.
We split up,
And then where does the start go?
Janice took the fireman.
Oh, like
So she
that?
could start on that.
Oh.
And then I just followed the directions, but I just don't think we're good at Legos. We're the
Are you
opposite
guys
of
still
sharing.
missing parts?
I couldn't get this crazy
I
thing
didn't
on
realize
his,
how
on
many
his
little
head
I don't know where
there were
it's
to
at
get to here. Like, I think that this doesn't represent how much we
Actually,
did.
like,
I feel like we did
how
a
much
lot
work
better.
you invested
But there's
in
so
it.
many little pieces to make the whole.
Again, think about that analogy to organizations, right? There's so many pieces.
I've contributed so much. This is hardly a good representation of the work that I've done.
It's like
My
the
card was on fires, right?
Yeah. Appreciate my
I think a problem Penny and I were both having, we're older and we can't manipulate. I mean, I saw her taking these little things and I kept dropping some of these tiny things.
I did too, Laura.
And I think, you gotta remember, there are some people, if your skill strength isn't there, it's not there.
Yeah.
And no matter how much time you put in, you're not gonna get the outcome of somebody who does Lego.
Yeah. That's right.
So being sensitive to those differences, right, is really key when you're working with teams.
Just like our skill finder.
Right.
Yes. I never could draw boxes and things like that. You know how people can take a box and they can draw it out? I could never do that.
What about you guys? What was your experience like working together?
Actually, I always enjoy working with Deb because I feel like we speak the same language for some reason. Like whenever she's, even if I couldn't quite describe that piece, I'm like that thingy. She knew what I was.
And I was like, this one!
Yeah, she knew what I was referring to. So it's interesting that we automatically kind of gravitated to each other for this exercise. Whereas I wonder how it would be working on this exercise with someone that I did not know at all, right? That I did not know what language they spoke. So I didn't.
Easier.
Yeah, I didn't feel frustrated at all. I just felt like, okay, we'll get into it. Yeah, and I didn't feel like, oh, Deb, why aren't you doing this? I just, like, we were just, like, okay, yeah, we're okay. We're not failures, but we're not like the best, but we're doing good, you know.
I think Jen and I are both kind of talkers.
Trying to get
Yeah, we.
And so it was kind of, we were just both kind of like muttering under our breath, like, no, like I just,
I was just gonna say
and
that.
then we heard them, we're like, no. Like,
Yeah, at one point Jen was taking stuff away from you and I'm like, what is she doing? And you're like this. And so it was interesting, the noise, once there was more clarity in terms of there's directions now, there was much less chatter between the teams than there was the first time. The first time there was like anxiety, and there was some anxiety still, but at the same time people were really just trying to get the product built, right? And so I noticed that the other thing, since you were so focused on the goal, there was less of the encouraging discussion that happened in the first round.
True that.
You know, I think maybe a couple
you're both
times.
working.
True
Yeah,
that.
so
Yeah,
you're
'cause
so
both working,
focused,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You're not stopping to acknowledge the efforts that went
Yeah,
into it
that
of our
is
team
true.
members.
That is
right?
true. That's good.
Yeah. So there's a lot of things that just from a simple Lego exercise we can pull out of this in terms of both responsibilities and working with different people and leveraging their strengths. Is there anything else that the group wanted to add, kind of like a aha moment? I mean, and think about this in the context of working with committees in the future or in the past, you know. Any other ideas or things that you found, you know, this,
no one said this yet, but it definitely helps some clear instructions.
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
That and pieces that are supposed to go a certain way, right? And if it doesn't, then, oh, okay, it's so clear that it doesn't, so you take it off and put it back again. Whereas, is life really like that? No, I mean, I don't.
But be more
I think
flexible, right?
I think for you,
To the
it was-
change.
There's some
that you have to-
flexibility when it comes to building, you know, a truck like this, like the picture is supposed to be.
Yeah, but I mean,
So-
taking it apart, saying, oh, that's not right, let's take it apart and redo
Right,
that.
I think that's great, but, you know, is life really so black and white? It's not.
And again, that speaks to working with teams, right, and being flexible. Again, you were talking earlier about how this is a volunteer organization. and this isn't our job. We do it because we like to do this work. But when we're participating and it feels like work, then people start to disengage, right? It's like, oh my gosh, now I have to go to this committee meeting again and do this, and nobody cares, nobody acknowledges I'm here. So being that encouraging person as leaders, right, for the junior league this year is really key. And in terms of engagement, can really make the difference between a really active group and a group that's just kind of there just to be there, right? And we want to make that experience for them really enriching, because that's why most of us join the league. Like, I joined to make friends, but I also wanted to do something, right, positive in our community. So, were you going to add something?
Yeah. One of the things that was really interesting for me, and I think it was a Hobble Week, was the fact that even as much as I played Legos, having the instruction and going, oh, that's where this piece goes, or that's, like, I did not realize it. I was building it, looking at it, and I was like, oh, I thought this goes together, and it's not. It's like these small little pieces were like the foundation to start the rest of it, which I didn't even realize until we got the instructions, so that was really neat.
I thought it's interesting too, one of the other things I observed is there was only one set of directions for each team, but nobody fought over them. Everyone was just kind of sharing, and just nobody was like, I need to see this, let me turn this on the other page, or whatever. So.
I wonder if it would have been different if we were in bigger groups.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If we were in groups of 8 and tried to like flip back and forth.
And share, if you will, yeah. So that actually does make a difference. And you can run this exercise a bunch of different ways. Actually, you would probably do 2 more runs and you would change the parameters. But since we're such a small group, I thought 2 was appropriate. Any other closing comments before we go back inside? Okay, good job, ladies.
I want to finish it. I think we should finish it.
We're done.
Can we finish it outside?
Those are the big
Yes,
ones.
you can.